Sound check. Am I good? So this is a really cool experience. This is one of my first experiences at a conference like this, and I'm really actually very jealous of all the exciting stories that I'm hearing in the crowd today. It sounds like partnering with Alibaba makes entrepreneurship easy, right? I know it's not. It certainly makes it sound that way, though. So today I want to share a little bit of insight on peak season trends, how not to only survive peak season, but how to thrive in peak season. So the importance of the holiday season, why is it so important? 19% on average of all retail revenues are earned in peak season. And even some customers, some retailers, it's significantly higher. I work with several companies who it's even up to 60, 70% of their annual revenues are realized during peak season. So in order to get that right, make sure that they're not only delivering during peak season, but retaining the customers for the long term is really going to dictate whether they're successful into the future or not. More than half of consumers say that if they have a bad experience in peak season, they won't shop with that retailer again. And 4 out of 5 consumers say that if they have a bad returns experience, they definitely won't shop with that retailer again. So the stakes are high, right? A lot of people do a lot of self-gifting during the holidays, myself included, right? We find a lot of really good deals. We buy ourselves gifts, right? They come to the door. They're a little bit late. That's okay for the most part. But I'll tell you, when you find that perfect gift for your mother-in-law, you probably ordered it a little bit later than you should have, and that doesn't arrive in time for the holiday gathering. That's a bad deal, right? That's a little bit different. So I want to talk a little bit about consumer buying behaviors. For the last 4 years, we've been asking consumers when they're going to purchase, why they're going to purchase. And for the most part, they're pretty true to what they say. So if you take notice, behind me here, we've got 2 peak buying times during the peak season. The first is mid-October. It's actually surrounded by Amazon's second Prime Day. The second is Cyber 5, as we like to call it. So it's Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Cyber Monday. Significant buying times for peak season, as I'm sure all of you that are selling direct-to-consumer are well aware of. So a little bit of history. In 2020, represented by the pink line, this is the COVID era. Very similar trend line to past years. Not really a significant bump in October, but you can see significant buying in the Cyber 5. In 2021, the year of the supply chain, coming out of COVID, kind of, supply chains are backlogged, containers are still on the ocean and can't get into port. When they get into port, they can't get to the distribution centers to get to the end consumer. So if you think about it, consumers were buying. They had a Christmas list, they knew what they needed, and they needed to make sure that they get it in time for the holidays. So they were making purchases, not necessarily waiting for promotions, they just needed the product. Retailers love this. 2022 comes around, represented by the green line. You could see a trend here, and you can see that it's the lowest line on Cyber 5. So a little bit of a spike around Prime Day. But what happened is kind of a November game of chicken between the retailer and the consumer. Consumers, drastic inflation during that time. Consumers wanted promotions. They wanted to make sure that they were getting the best possible deal, and they weren't going to make a purchase until they got that deal. Retailers, going off of the prior season, weren't putting the deals out there, right? So you can see the lowest buying in a 4-year pattern during the Cyber 5, and the reason for that is because there were a lack of promotions. Retailers weren't hitting the consumer when they were ready to buy. So this year, this is what consumers are saying they're going to do for this year, and you can see, based on the orange line, 2 things happened, a little bit different this year. For the first time ever, consumers are saying that they are planning to make holiday purchases during the second Prime Day, right, the first peak season. they haven't done this before. They see the promotions, they make the purchases, but they weren't planning on it. It just kind of happened. So this year, they're anticipating it, they're ready for it, they're ready for the sales, and they're going to be looking for the sales. This year, during the standard peak season, Cyber 5, consumers are saying they're going to make the vast majority of their purchases. They're expecting to buy more, and they're expecting to buy it during this time, and they're expecting significant promotions during this time. So if you're a retailer, two good things to know, right? Consumers are looking, they're looking in October, they're looking during Cyber 5. So how can you encourage your customers to order earlier in the season to take some of the pressure off of your own supply chain, your own distribution during the Cyber 5 time period? 5 things you can do. Number 1, always discounts, promotions, sales, discount your product, give them the promotions when they're looking. Number 1 reason consumers are going to buy earlier. The second thing is free shipping. Consumers love free shipping, and if it's not a standard practice in your business, it's a great way to encourage sales. You also have the ability with free shipping to extend your lead times, and what this means, what I mean by this is, say your typical shipping is $7 and 3 to 5 business days. That's what you're putting out there. If you can offer free shipping, you have the ability to extend the lead time. Maybe it's 5 to 7 business days, maybe it's 7 to 10 days. That gives you the ability to stretch out your distribution, put less pressure on your distribution channels, and less pressure on your carrier, which we certainly appreciate. Rewards. The third thing is rewards points for future purchases. Reward your consumers for purchasing from you. Pretty simple. Well, I like to buy my kids a lot of stuff from one of the large sporting good retailers as opposed to going direct to some of the manufacturers because I get rewarded, I get points spent on future purchases. Half of consumers are saying that if you release holiday items sooner, they're going to buy them sooner. So think big ticket items, doorbusters, things like that. Consumers are ready to buy as early as October. And Amazon hasn't actually announced, I don't think so, they haven't announced their Prime Day yet, but it's usually right around the second week in October. And lastly, simplifying the returns process. Someone else mentioned this a little bit earlier, but returns are key. And actually, I think it's north of 50% of consumers generally check a return policy before even placing an order on a website. If you don't have a streamlined return policy and procedure, you could actually be losing sales as well. So UPS is ready. Peak season is our playoffs. It's our March Madness. It's what really matters. We spend all year long preparing for peak season. So some of the things that we're doing in order to ensure success during peak season, investing in automation. So reliable, consistent, 95% of our ground eligible packages, so not the mattress in a box, not the patio furniture, our regular ground packages are flowing through automated shipping facilities now. That's huge. We don't have to worry about sick days, call-outs, no-shows. And I think a real term now is barely making it Mondays, right? That affects production. So it's consistent, it's reliable, and we're continuously investing in our network to increase automation. Fuel consumption. So transportation company, right? Jet fuel, heating our buildings, diesel fuel. We're a huge consumer of fuel. We are doing our part to impact our carbon footprint in a positive way. We're investing in alternative fuel technology, and we actually have a goal to be completely carbon neutral by the year 2050. Route optimization. So this is last mile delivery. We have software called Orion. It's a route optimization software that we use when we dispatch our drivers. It's smart, it's agile. It's been around about as long as I've been at UPS, but it's able to make changes based on traffic patterns delivery density, new neighborhoods. We're literally able to make changes on a daily basis to routes based on efficiencies and making sure that we're putting our drivers out there to be as efficient as possible. And this is the no left turn policy, as I'm sure all of you are probably heard at some point. Lastly, our aircraft. So we've purchased 54 aircraft over a 5-year period. Most of these are larger aircraft, and they are doing two things. They're adding to our fleet. They're also expanding our capacity within the US and globally. And actually, during peak season, we take some of our larger aircraft that service overseas routes. So maybe they're going back and forth to Asia on a daily basis. We inject them into our domestic air network to increase our capacity locally. And ironically enough, we have a competitor who has an air hub in Memphis. We take a 747 during peak season, and we fly it back and forth to Memphis to serve that market. Significant amount of volume that we're injecting in that market. So if you're ever in Memphis in December, look for the brown tail and the sea of purple. Recommendations. So we heard earlier, Super September. What a great opportunity to take advantage of some promotions when you're probably already wanting to buy anyway, working with Alibaba.com. So source early, source now. Make sure you have the inventory to hit the consumers when they're looking for the deals. We are forecasting with some of our largest retailers now, usually around 120 or so retailers. We've already started the forecasting process with them. We understand on a daily basis what packages they're giving us, from which origin, what service, so that we can plan to make sure that our network is running efficiently. The second is get your promotions in front of your customers when they're looking for them. We kind of talked about this already, right? They're looking for promotions around Prime Day, and they're looking for promotions in Cyber 5. Don't wait. Make sure that they're aware that you're running promotions. Get emails to them early. Announce what your promotions are going to be. Get them excited to buy. Over-communication is key. This is pretty simple. If you're not doing this already, you should be. You should be letting your consumers know when they're on your website, if they're placing an order, when is it going to get to their house? Let them know exactly what day. If it changes, let them know that too. When it ships, email them, text them. When it's out for delivery, send them a message. When it's been delivered, send them a message, and then take the opportunity to follow up the next day and ask them how that experience was. Experienced a problem, they won't hesitate to tell you, give you the opportunity to make it right. And if it went really well, they might tell you that too. Contingency planning. So problems happen, right? Nobody's perfect. We plan for certain things, and different things happen all the time. At UPS, we have a control tower that we put up during peak season to work with our customers to make sure that we can take the volume that they have to put into the network to get to their customers when they have it. So an example would be, maybe we're working with one of our large retailers, and they tell us that on Tuesday, they're expecting to have 30,000 packages coming out of Atlanta that need to be picked up that day. That's what we plan on starting in August, right? We have the equipment, we have the drivers ready to pick it up. They call us Tuesday morning and say, hey, we have a situation. We have 70,000 packages coming out of Atlanta that need to be picked up today, right? So contact the control tower, get in touch with the necessary operators. We have to check on equipment, we have to check on driver availability, DOT hours. There's a lot of things that go into this, but our control tower formulates a plan so that we can get back to the customer and let them know exactly what we're able to do, when and how we're able to do it in order to meet the customer's needs and get the packages to the end consumer. So super proud to be partnered with Alibaba. Like I said, it sounds like they make business easy, and looking forward to a very bright peak season. Thank you.